On your mobile phone and on all social media platforms. Jambo Radio.
Hello everyone, we are so excited to be here. I have lovely ladies with me in the studio. Welcome to your Money Giants Slay, Build, Rise, a special one-off program for Jambo Radio where power is going to meet purpose. I'm so excited to be here today with amazing lineup of amazing women. We're going to talk real money with real women who have faced giants. And we are just going to have a conversation. We've told ourselves that we are women of change today, and we're just going to chat and have a blather. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm your host, Tynah Matembe, and today I'm joined by these three trailblazing women who are getting real about the biggest financial fears they've faced, how they've turned them around, what they do, and everything in between. But before I introduce them, somehow skipping the boring bit, I want to start by saying that everything you hear in this program is for educational purposes only. We are not giving any financial advice, and we say you should get recommendations if you're thinking about making any financial decisions. It's important to speak to a qualified financial advisor. Our goal here is simply to help you learn and understand, not replace professional guidance. So let me now introduce these three amazing women who have joined me here at Jambo Radio Studio for what will be an empowering program and will ensure that you'll financially win this year. I'm going to start with you, Vicky, a good friend of mine and formerly the founder of Raddish, which was a UK consumer lending as a service platform for companies whose customers were underserved by existing banks and lenders. And we're looking forward to hearing all about you and the journey you've had with that.
Thank
really
you,
cool.
Tynah. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. And then Lisa, I'm so happy to meet you in person. We've been having a few chats and excited to be doing this, exploring this. Lisa is a chartered financial planner at award-winning LMC Financial Planning, and she is fabulous. So looking forward to hearing all about you.
Happy to be here, thanks.
And Karen, I am so happy. We have been in touch for the longest while online. We are friends. We are LinkedIn buddies, and we do all these things. We're somehow there for each other, but we haven't done this together before. So I'm really excited to meet you in person today. Karen's the founder of Money Insights, which is a service that's aimed at helping small and medium businesses discover financial opportunities like grants, tax breaks, funding, savings, etc. via insights, tools, and expert matching. I wish I had that when I started 7 years ago. So
good to hear then, because I'm building it.
Yes, and I really believe in what you're building. It's a big thing. I was sharing yesterday at a conference we were at about one of the first statistics I had was that businesses fail within the first 3 years of being set up or in the first 5 years. So I was so obsessed with getting to the first 3-year mark. And when I did, I was like, yes, I've survived that. And then the next 2 years, so it's such a big deal, and funding is one of the biggest issues. Now, I would like to kick things off with asking each of you to give us a bit of a background about who you are and what you do, and maybe one important life lesson and one bold key financial move that you have done, in the past. Let's start with you, Lisa.
Oh, no. So, I have been in financial services for 27 years now.
Wow.
Started off working with big corporates. I've worked for small financial advice practices, and then about 13 years ago now, started my own practice. So, I've got a broad range of experience. I've dealt with all manner of clients, and I think, the biggest learning curve, I think, in terms of running my own business was taking the experience from the big corporate organisation and the personal service that you get from a smaller, more local independent, and marrying the two together, because neither are quite ideal and fit for purpose. And that was what I hoped to achieve in setting up my own business. It's like you, it was the first step into becoming self-employed and doing my own thing. And will it work? Will it be? How scary is it going from a steady salary and an income that's guaranteed to doing your own thing? That was the biggest leap of faith. And there were a few tears and sweaty moments along that journey, but getting past the first couple of years was monumental, and 13 years in now.
Congratulations, that is such a big move.
Thank you.
Massive congrats. I'll come to you, Vicky, next.
Okay. So my background is in risk management in financial services. I started my career really similarly, so your journey resonates massively with me as well, in large corporate spaces, so financial services organisations in both the UK and Australia. Specialised in credit risk, so the gatekeepers really on who can and can't get access to credit. Which was always an interesting space for me to be in as a woman in financial services as well. So when sort of getting that personal experience of some of the biases and discriminations that exist out there, I started to get very interested in how that reflected on me as a risk manager and what it meant for the decisions that were being taken in some of my corporate organisations that I worked in. I think as I progressed through my career, that started to become even more important to me. So looking at how are we almost increasing the inaccess to credit or financial services that a lot of groups do experience, and what actually is happening, to address that. And I got to a point of thinking that I couldn't necessarily do that in some of these larger organisations. So I left. I actually left at a point when I had my 2 children as well. So there was a very big life-changing event that happened when you have your children, and that totally influences how your career is going to go as well. So I decided to start a social enterprise that was based on helping organisations be more inclusive through coaching and training. I retrained myself, took that big step to get away from the security of that salary to being self-employed and working on my own. I went back to university. I did a master's in gender studies, and then I really wanted to bring all those learnings back into financial services. Feeling that I couldn't do that in large corporates, I turned my attention to fintechs, which felt smaller and more agile. Found a lot of similar barriers, which I'm sure we can come on to as we progress our lovely discussion. And so I thought I might have to do this myself. So became a founder of a fintech, a lending company. Went through all the challenges of trying to raise money, trying to survive, the sweat, the tears, all of journeys that I think many founders are very familiar with. We unfortunately weren't able to get our fintech to survive. That was Raddish. So we folded the company just over a year ago, and I've been doing risk consultancy since then. And I think the biggest learning for me through all of this has been, or the biggest advice I would give to anybody, is to really understand what your financial needs are and what you can survive on. To know actually that money, you can make it stretch a lot further than you think when you're in a situation of having to do that, but also that you can get through it. And if you work hard, if you've got that belief in what you do and what you're trying to achieve, and you're very clear on that, you can do whatever you want. And that's certainly been something that's seen me through some of the very difficult times. But yeah, it's been, as a founder, it's been one of the most enriching and intellectually stimulating times of my career. So I'm very excited to carry on with that as I go on.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I think that's so important to hear when someone that's just folded tells you that you can do it. It's amazing, and we've both been part of something called F-Up Nights, interestingly, that just embraces the role of failing and folding as one of the most important things, I feel. And interestingly, even with writing Conquer Your Financial Giants, that would not have happened if I had not failed, because I was just oblivious to life. I was going one way, didn't know that life could happen. And it's through failing that you find out just how strong you are. It's through folding that you find out just how much you can stretch money and just be who you are. So thanks for sharing that. Karen.
Wow, that was interesting to hear both those stories there. So my name's Karen McFaden. I promise I am a nice one, so there'll be no asking for the manager today. And so my background is predominantly sales. So I've been either selling a product or a service for, let's say, 13, 14 years. And in the last kind of 8 years of that, it was more focused on the financial services industry. So I was going out to businesses and basically educating them on tax incentives that they may have been able to qualify for. And the whole, I loved the job because it was so new to me, and an example would be R&D tax relief for capital allowances or patent box relief, these kind of things. And the job was really cool because selling as a background, there's always that pressure, there's targets, there's, that kind of car salesman idea behind it. But because this was ultimately educating companies on, look, these tax incentives exist out there, you should go ahead and apply for it. It was just unbelievable the amount of companies that had no idea that they were eligible for this stuff. And you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds. So having spent a couple of years representing a company, as in being employed by them, this company, they no longer exist, they've been bought over by a big American brand now, but they gave me the opportunity to basically keep doing the same job, but instead of being employed with them, I could be an agent. So that was my kind of dipping my toe into the self-employed world. But it was a lot nicer a journey because I got to keep my clients, I already built up experience, and I was now making commission on my introductions rather than getting a wage. So that background for the last 5 years has then kind of brought me on this self-employed journey. Excuse me, I am battling a cough just now, so I'll be clearing my throat every now and then. That the last 5 years has kind of taken me on this journey to understanding the importance of learning about money. And that's what led me to start my fintech startup called MoneyMatix. And the premise is really all around financial matchmaking. So it's helping SMEs and startups uncover all of these financial blind spots that they're possibly missing, and then matching them to finance experts, insights, opportunities. And it's really kind of it's an online hub that just makes money easy for these founders, and it's really exciting building it. I'm currently raising some money to build my AI-powered money matchmaker called Mimi. More on that later. So I'm in this journey where I've been self-employed for a while. I'm now building this startup. I'm actually pregnant at the moment, so that's my biggest...
Congratulations!
Thank you so much. That's actually my biggest hurdle right now, where, I find that pregnancy is such a taboo topic, particularly when you're starting up, particularly when you are going out there and trying to raise funding. It seems to be a very shunned upon topic, and I'm probably the best case study for MoneyMatix because a lot of the opportunities I've shared with my members I've embraced, and I've actually just secured £20,000 through Scottish Enterprise on the Pathways to Scale programme. Thank you so much. So, I'm kind of on this mission to show that, you don't need to put your life on hold or your career on hold if you're, a young woman and you want to start a family. And you certainly don't have to dampen your ambitions. You just have to work smart, get financially acute, and off you go. And that's kind of what I use MoneyMatix for myself.
Wow. Massive congratulations. And thank you so much for sharing that. You're quite right. I think when I moved here, I got a job in financial services, and 3 months in, I find out I'm pregnant, and I'm like, how does this even work? I can barely understand the accents. I'm just like, I felt so dumb because I just felt no one understood what I was saying or doing. Now I'm pregnant. I don't know if I'm going to make probation. So I was pregnant for 6 months in silence. just waiting until my pregnancy would show, and it was horrendous feeling, hiding, going and being sick, and then it's just terrible. We don't talk about this enough at work. We don't talk about it in our businesses. We just don't talk about being a woman and living life, which nothing should have to give. We should be able to deal with juggling everything.
Absolutely, we definitely don't talk about it. I'm just relating it to my situation. My daughter's 16. She was 3 years old when I started my business. I was working for a big bank when I was pregnant, and I had been there for 7 years. I was, in terms of the sort of ranking among my counterparts, I was up here. Then I went on maternity leave, and when I came back, I was the bottom of the pile.
Yes.
I really want to pick up on that thread a little bit as well, because I didn't know, Tynah, that you were pregnant when you started, or 3 months after starting work. I was a week pregnant when I started my job, and I didn't know, or I found out when I'd been at work for a week, so I didn't know I was pregnant when I started a job as a contractor. So I went in on an interim basis, and I was asked to be made. I got asked to take the job permanently. And when I was making my decision to do that, I felt it was disingenuous not to tell the person who was offering me the job that I was pregnant. So I actually told my to-be boss that I was pregnant before I told my mother.
Wow.
But what I was really worried about was that the offer would be rescinded. I also didn't know what it would mean for salary when I was on maternity leave, because I hadn't been at the organisation long enough to have mat leave cover. Financial mat leave cover, so I had to then uncover what all the statutory support was financially.
Yep.
It's even worse if you're self-employed. I was lucky at least to be in a job, but if you're self-employed or if you've got your own business, the financial support, and this is something very unique to women.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
when I was in that situation, I was worried about my finances, but I was also worried about the job I was going to come back to as well.
Yes.
Like, what would happen while I was away?
Yeah.
I felt very vulnerable in so many ways, and there was no support for that.
Yeah. Did they give you the job?
They did, because they couldn't have not legally. You can't
You
take it away.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was going to be a way that they could, but they did. I made sure that I'd got the offer in writing before I told them. But even having to think about it in that way is just terrible.
Yeah. And Lisa, to what you've said, I was the same. I had come in working my socks off. First of all, I didn't understand anything in the training, like during the training time, right? And my confidence was so low. I had never had that such a low confidence, because you're new to the country, you're speaking different, you literally can't understand what's supposed to be basic. I remember being on the training program and they're telling us to turn the page. I just couldn't understand. And guess what? We had a Scottish trainer and an Irish trainer. That was the combination of trainers and me.
That's tough.
It's just like, so they would be like, turn the page, you can't do it, then you're pregnant, right? And then worked my way up. Within about nine months of being there, I feel like I'm getting traction. Went on maternity leave, came back, and it was just going back to scratch. To the point that you don't even have, your desk and chair are not there anymore.
Yep.
It just feels so horrible coming back to, wow. Very good way to start the show. Let's get into something that I find really interesting, especially when I've been really, really low. Music. I find that money is one of those dry topics that you never talk about, or though we're doing it right now, for example. And music is something that really calms me down and puts me in a different space. So I always try and relate stuff to music. And I wrote something around it, punctuating life. Like I feel like I have a song for every season. And so I asked you lovely ladies to think about songs that come to mind. One, I'll start with mine, and mine is DJ Khaled's All I Do Is Win. And the reason I chose this song was I had to talk myself out of a bad place on a daily basis. At some point in my life, I just was so down and so dark that if I did not speak anything positive, I was going to be in bed the whole day. So I used music to heal myself and come up. And this song in particular just put me in this place where I had to do nothing but dance. So we bring to you DJ Khaled, All I Do Is Win.
DJ there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them say that.
Ludacris going in on the verse, cause I never been defeated and I won't stop now. Keep your hands up, get them in the sky for the homies that ain't making it and my folks locked down. I never went nowhere, but they saying Luda's back. Blame it on that contour, the hood call it Luda Yak. And I'm on this foolish track, so I spit my foolish flow. My hands go up and down, like strippers' booties go. My verses still be serving, tight like a million virgins. Last time on a college remix, now I'm on the original version. Can't never count me out, y'all better count me in. Got 20 bank accounts, accountants count me in. Make millions every year, the South's champion. Cause all I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the song. The next segment of our program is going to be about meeting your giants. I have recently published a book called Conquer Your Financial Giants, Proven Steps to Mastering Your Money and Building Wealth. It's a part memoir, financial self-help book sharing about my journey and, going from having a lot of wealth where I was growing up to coming to the UK, losing everything. Lisa asked me before, why Scotland? And I said, madness. Because it literally was a bucket list item that you decide we want to live abroad for a few years. Let's apply to be expatriates. I'm a lawyer. My background is law. My husband is an accountant. Put in for highly skilled, applied to Australia, applied to Canada, applied to the UK. And we're like, whoever calls us to come as expatriates first is where we're going. And that's how we ended up here. And that unfolded a whole raft of things. One, we're very financially stable. Had never had to think about money. Moved here with so much money. We actually became investigated. We were anti-money laundering investigated because we had way more money than you're supposed to declare, which was fine. We could put a trail on the money. And within 2 years, we could barely make rent. That is how, quickly the cost of living was so different. The lifestyle we're used to was so different and so expensive here. I share a story in the book of trying to get a housekeeper. I had never lived without a housekeeper in my life. We always had a house help. We had a housekeeper. We had a chef. We had a driver. And here I was on my own, supposed to, one,
what you did moving here?
I know. Madness. And trying to find a housekeeper and thinking, they've not understood what I'm asking for here. They cannot have, because they wanted us paying them per hour, and they were going to, when we worked it out, it was going to be more than the wage I was getting. So that just flew out the window immediately. But for so many years, I was gripped with fear. I had never known luck the way that we experienced it. And that's probably because I was living a fairy tale unknowingly, right? So when the time came and we couldn't make rent, I just remember being so scared. So scared. I was so worried about everything. And then, of course, I had the baby. I was having this baby as well. And I breastfed my daughter, and she'd be breastfeeding and I would be crying, just feeling so sorry for her and thinking, how horrible can I be to bring another human being into this? This is just so wrong. This is not right. And you're going through, your body's changing. It was just such a horrible time. And I just remember fear being the biggest giant that I had to overcome. My mindset, I was in a very dark place. So my mind, I was so scared of everything. I had been a very flamboyant, party-loving person. I remember when we were back in Uganda, we were the party house. We were every Friday to Sunday, we had a party at home. And if we wanted a break, we would have to hide the cars. We'd have to go and hide the cars and tell the gatekeeper to say we are not in. Otherwise, there was going to be a party all week. And one day I'm seated and I realized that I've not spoken to anyone for about 7 months. I had not left the house. I had the baby. My husband, I'd go to the shops, come back in, had not spoken to anyone, hadn't opened the curtains properly for a while. My mind was going. It was horrible. So that's the biggest thing for me, was that fear of poverty. Poverty, I just, you see people not being able to afford stuff, but it had always been very far-fetched, and oh my gosh, they should work harder. I would say, go and get a second job. And then I was in a place where I literally had lost everything, and I could not get a second job. I couldn't get a job. I had a baby. We've been talking about maternity leave, but a very funny story of mine is when I eventually told work I was pregnant, because for a long while I was scared to eventually tell them I'm pregnant. And of course, my manager starts the process of, getting me to get maternity leave. Remember, I'm new to the country. She says to me, oh, you need to go on leave. It's 9 months. Your maternity leave is 9 months. So I took that as gospel. I thought, oh yeah, you have to go away for 9 months. And that was fine. And a week after that, my husband lost his job. So I'm going on maternity leave, which I've been told is 9 months. I don't know that I can go back early. My husband is now out of work. We have spent all our savings. And when I tell you we've spent them, we have spent them, right? And we have a baby, right? And I was so scared. Stopped taking calls because I didn't know what to say to my family. Yeah. They didn't understand why we had come over here. They thought we were mad. We had good jobs. We were working. My husband was working for a bank. I was working for the UN. We were fine. And our parents, my dad sat me down and said, have you got yourself in a spot of trouble that we need to sort out? Are you running away from something to be leaving, And then just over 2 years later to be saying I'm going back home was just a no-no, right? So we just had we had put these pressures on ourselves that we had to succeed, that nobody cared for. They would have welcomed us back in a heartbeat, but we had all these pressures. We're not sharing with anyone. And I just remember fear being just the most horrific thing that I had going for me. So the book is just about overcoming those fears, those financial giants. And because for me, everything started and stopped with money. I had just never not had money. And all I knew was to solve my problems with money. And suddenly I was in a place where I didn't have the money to solve the problems. I didn't have the network to solve the problems. What the heck am I supposed to do, kind of thing. So I would really like to hear your own journeys, and probably they won't be as dramatic, or they won't be as, as that. Just what your experiences with any giants have been on your journeys. I will come to you, Lisa. First.
Pick on me.
I know.
I guess I don't come from a what you might call a privileged background. My parents were sort of working class. Dad was a miner, mum was a carer. We didn't have a lot growing up. I've got a couple of brothers. We lived in a council estate, and it was tough. I witnessed it being tough for them. My mum had 3 jobs at one point. My dad was never in. He had a couple of jobs as well. So yeah, it was a tough upbringing. There's a joke in the family that we survived on vegetables in the summer and roadkill in the winter. And I also observed that put a massive strain, that and other things, put a massive strain on my parents' relationship. And my mum was not in a position to do anything about that. And she drummed into me from a very young age, be independent, be your own person, have your own money, don't take no for an answer, just be self-sufficient, don't rely on anyone. And I think partly it was because she would have liked to escape from the situation that she was in if she could have. And that really stuck with me. So it was a lesson that I learned early and took on board, and always strived to be independent and never be in a position where I had to be beholden to anyone. And I've certainly had my struggles along the way. I bought my first house at 22, and almost lost that because it was, oh blimey, I've got all these bills to pay now. And yes, it was, that was a bit of a struggle initially, and I ended up running up credit card debt. And I'm all for credit cards, but if they're used in the correct way. And almost came that close to losing my house, and fought, took extra jobs myself, and obviously parents weren't in a position to help me, so it was, I really did fight and struggle to get out of that situation that I was in, and that taught me a lot about finances and how to manage them and how to look after them and making saving a priority. And slowly but surely built myself up from there and into a position where I don't have to be beholden to anyone. So much so, I got married in 2013. Fast forward to last year, when a massive out of the blue revelation, and that was the marriage over. But I was in a position where I didn't have to accept, well, it didn't have to be the marriage over, but I was in a position where I was not prepared to accept the situation that I'd been put in. So I was able to escape, dust myself down, start all over again. And that's what sort of money means to me, and having some behind me and having that security and that ability to make my own decisions and determine my own outcome.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I think you've touched on something so important, but I think I've never been able to articulate it like that. I really, really believe that not having choices is the most diabolical thing, and keeps us down, especially as women. We're mostly in situations we shouldn't be in because we are compromising most of the time for the children. I remember setting up the business and spending a lot of time working, not spending time with the kids, right? And the guilt of that almost drove me back to work, because I was just like, we're doing the business, but I'm not showing up as I'm supposed to be showing up, and then you're under all this pressure. So that's a very, very interesting perspective to think about it from an independence point of view, and very well done on being able to stand up and be independent, which is very interesting. I won't give it away yet, because please tell us a bit about what you do then, because that's such an interesting thing from the background you've come from everything that's been drummed into you, into the work you do today.
Yeah, so I'm now in the fortunate position of running my own business and being able to guide my clients in terms of, as I said, prioritising that saving, structuring their finances in a way that gives them the ability to live and enjoy life now, but also sort of looking at with one eye on the future, both medium term and longer term, and planning for every eventuality that might come along. We don't have a crystal ball, we can't see what's round the corner, but just making provision for the here and now, the like to haves, and the unknowns that may come up in the future as well. So yeah, I deal with individuals, businesses alike, in terms of structuring their finances and planning for the future.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. If you don't mind, just for a long while when we were starting out, where we got to a point we couldn't afford our rent. We just could not afford rent. We were renting at the time, and we were new to country, right? And we had been told that if you were homeless, because we were on visas at the time, on highly skilled migrant visas, but we were told we had no recourse to public funds, so we couldn't get benefits or whatever. However, because we had a baby, if we had been kicked out of the home, then would have been homeless and would have been able to get help, right? So most difficult conversation of my life. Would never have it again. Go to the landlord and we're like, could you kick us out because we cannot afford the rent. We just cannot afford the rent. You need to kick us out. And the landlord's like, absolutely not. You guys are lovely. He loved our baby. We're still friends with him. Loved the kid. He was just like, listen, this is what my mortgage payments are on this property. I'll give you a bit of a, negotiation, cover the mortgage for a bit, and when you get back on your feet. Wow. And that was amazing. We were just in that fortunate position. But I remember the sleepless nights of, my goodness, at some point, we're probably not going to be able to afford the amount of money he's telling us to pay for the mortgage, and we're going to need to leave, become homeless, right? It was just so crazy. If you don't mind, just share with us how you go from almost getting repossessed, I'm assuming, to back on track. That takes balls.
Yeah. I remember my speech at my wedding, my dad said that I knew the kind of person you were when your backside was at rock bottom and you dusted yourself down and you picked yourself up. And I was working full-time during the day in a financial services company, and you absolutely can't have debt because you have to go through obviously financial proprietary sort of declarations every year. So I was doing that full time. I worked in a bar in the evenings. I was doing chauffeur driving at the weekends. I was working every hour God sent, basically, until and saving. So
you were paying off. You'd working debt. And paying off the debt. All the money you'd work, you'd pay off.
Yes.
Wow. Very, very well done. And maybe you should tell us about your song now, because I now get it. I now understand.
So I get it. It's that lesson that Mum drilled into me from a very young age, and this song by Destiny's Child, Independent Women, really sort of reflects that. And it's going out with friends in my sort of early 20s, and we were all successful women and celebrating the fact that we did it all.
You are independent women.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing so openly with us. We really appreciate it. So Lisa's track is Destiny's Child, Independent Women. Whoop, whoop. I think we'll have a boogie to this one because it's so meaningful.
Lucy Lou, with my girl Drew, Cameron D and Destiny, Charlie's Angels, come on. Bring it. Question, tell me what you think about me. I buy my own diamonds and I buy my own rings. Only ring your celly when I'm feeling lonely. When it's all over, please get up and leave. Question, tell me how you feel about this. Try to control me, boy, you get dismissed. Pay my own condo and I pay my own bills. Always 50-50 in relationships. The shoes on my feet, I buy. The clothes I'm wearing, I buy. The rock I'm rocking, I buy. 'Cause I depend on me. If I wanted the watch I'm wearing, I buy. The house I live in, I buy. The car I'm driving, I buy. I depend on me. I depend on me. All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me. All the honeys who making money, throw your hands up at me. All the mamas who rock the dollar, throw your hands up at me. All the ladies who truly feel me, throw your hands up at me. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Tell me how you feel about this. Do what I want, live how I wanna live. I worked hard and sacrificed to get what I get. Ladies, it ain't easy being independent. Question, how'd you like this knowledge that I brought? Bragging on that cash that he gave you as the front. If you're gonna brag, make sure it's your money you fund. Depend on no one else to give you what you want. The shoes on my feet, I buy. The clothes I'm wearing, I buy. The rock I'm rocking, I buy. 'Cause I depend on me. If
Jambo Radio, inspiring transformation.
That was such a good conversation we had. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with us, Lisa. It was educational. Isn't it so funny that we all come at life from such different angles, and we all have so much richness to share from it all? I'll come to you, Karen, next. Let's share your financial giants or fears that you have had.
I suppose, we've touched on a few of them through talking about becoming self-employed and the natural fears that you have with that. But, I suppose my fear most recently has been in the last, I would say, 12 months, where I kind of got to the grand old age of 34, then began this startup idea and realised that I actually know nothing about how money works in business. Because my upbringing, my mum's my idol, she's my hero, but I was very much taught, work hard at school, go to university or college, get a job, work your way up in the job. And, I had done that up until I was 30, I suppose. But then when I became self-employed, my financial IQ around money was just lacking. I didn't save money in my 20s, I spent it. If I made a wage, I spent the wage. I went on holidays with friends. I paid, as long as my bills were paid. I've been living by myself or living independently since 17 years old. And my mentality was very naive on, as long as you pay your bills, you'll be fine. You can still live and have a good life. But it was very much month to month. And so now that I'm in my mid-30s and I've recently married and we're starting a family now, my husband's from Albania, and his work ethic is second to none, and his mentality around money is entirely different to mine. I've learned a lot from him with money, but it has kind of made me now realise that actually I don't want to live month to month anymore with money. I want to build this company so that I'm passively making it. And part of being pregnant, the next 5 months is very much about me securing the funding that I need to build Mimi, and to ensure that when I go off on maternity, I've got a team set up on a fractional basis, because I can't afford full-time employees, but to have them set up on a fractional basis where, I don't need to shut the shop. I can continue running, I can have maternity, and I can just check in with the team, once a week, and just, really have confidence that things are still moving. And so I kind of love what I'm building with Money Insights, because with myself, the last 12 months, as I was saying, I've made nowhere near the money that I used to make. Absolutely nowhere near. And that shocked me to my core, because I thought, okay, I'm building this online hub, and all these entrepreneurs out there, they want to learn about this stuff and they don't know where to look for it. And of course they're going to become members of Money Insights. Why wouldn't they? And I didn't share anything about what I was doing or building before launch. Idiotic mistake to any founder listening out there. Share as much as you can. And then when I opened, I thought, okay, I'm going to have people paying to be members, non-stop. Absolutely not. So it kind of set me off in a back foot, where I was then having to openly talk about, and I think they call it now building in public, where you just literally share the behind the scenes of your founder life. And it's taken me, 8-9 months to embrace that, but I wish I'd done it at the start. And don't get me wrong, the insights that I share with my members, I take advantage of them myself, and I'm really happy because they've helped me as a founder understand, right, if I want to build X, that's going to cost Y, and I need to find that money through Z avenue. Okay, well, I've got 4 options on the market to look at that, and I would never have known that before. I would never have considered that. I just always used to think when I worked in corporate, oh, you have to be a brain box to run a company, Fast forward to the amount of corporate bosses that I've perhaps worked with in the past that don't have a clue, and fast forward to the amount of scrappy entrepreneurs that I've met that I think, geez, how are you not running the world? Your intelligence, your ingenuity, wow. And so I kind of, I'm at this stage now where the fear is starting to lift, where, we're now making a bit of money within Money Insights. And you know, from a home perspective, a big fear that I actually had, and perhaps, you know, others out there listening might have gone through it as well. I've been independent. Lisa, you know, you're talking about buying a house at 22. That just impresses me. But since the age of 17, you know, I went to uni. I pay my own bills, pay my rent. I've never ever had to rely on any other adult for financial help. And it wasn't until starting this business that I used up all my savings. The money wasn't coming in as quickly as I'd anticipated, and I quickly ran out of, you know, cash. And don't get me wrong, I've now secured some funding and things are on the up and they're going the way we want. But for the first time in my life, I had to depend on a man for money, my husband, which was the most embarrassing thing I'd ever done. And I swear I got myself into the most depressed state about it. And I was talking to my friends and they all were just begging to slap me because they were thinking, what is wrong with you? It's your husband. He's supposed to support you. You're supposed to lean on him, you know. And actually, my husband opened a shop in Shawlands a couple of years ago called Batterin. It was a fish and chip shop. And lo and behold, who was there until 1 a.m. on the weekends doing the cashier job? Me. Who was there doing deliveries? Me. Who was there picking up the slack if a staff member called in sick? Me. So Mario, my husband, was very much saying to me, look, you've helped me. Like, this is a partnership. You don't, you know, it's if you need me to cover the bills for a while, that's fine. But it took every ounce of my being to allow him to do so. And it just went completely against my nature. But by having that support system, it has allowed me to then truly focus on building money insights and getting the financial awareness that I need to understand, right, if I'm not going to go to an investor and ask for money that way, how else can I find this funding for my business? And I'm, you know, thankful to say that I've managed to secure some so far. So yeah, I think there's a lot of fear around not having something turn out the way you think when you start something. Just that know-how, you know, and really not knowing where to turn to when it comes to money, how to actually, even when you get it, how to properly spend it, because geez, you can waste money. I mean, you can throw it away. So I think now, you know, I'm really kind of teaching myself, and I, like I say, I'm in my mid-30s, I do kick myself sometimes because I think, God, I wish I had this knowledge 10 years ago. You know, my company would already be soaring at this point. Of course, you live and learn. But yeah, so I think to kind of anyone listening, you hear the things, you know, you're never too late to start. You know, just as long as you can absorb information around you, as long as you can get involved in things that will help educate you, talk to as many people in your network as possible about your goals, your vision, because I mean, Scotland in particular, I've found is a very open space to just ask, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And yeah, so I'm kind of loving the space that I'm in terms of, don't get me wrong, I'm petrified that in 5 months' time there'll be a child emerging from me, and I'm going to have to figure out to deal with that alongside, you know, running a business. But no, I think I'm grateful that I'm building something that is solving a problem for me as a founder and thousands of other founders out there, and it's making something that is typically a very overwhelming topic, money, it's making it very easy to understand. So I'm kind of enjoying the journey as well as enjoying being a member of what I'm building.
Thank you so much for sharing. I was giggling there because talking again about fear and failing, when I started the business, my first thing was financial education for young people. I was so, because, you know, I was telling you about nursing my daughter and just thinking about the poor girl is going to grow up poor because she's been born to this idiot of a woman, you know. I was just beating myself up. So as soon as she could speak, I was like, I really need to sort out her financial education. I didn't like some of the stuff that was happening in the UK. I didn't understand credit. Certainly didn't get it at all. Thought it was absolute useless. Wanted to teach her the best of understanding cash, and, you know, went and built a pocket money manager, singing and dancing, asked nobody. Didn't get a single sign up. The user interface, everything was off. And that was the very expensive lesson of building in public. So for my business, I hate it. I'm uncomfortable with it, but I've had to embrace just going online and sharing my journey.
Yes.
Posting even when you don't want to,
Yeah.
when you've not put on the makeup, when the living room is looking horrible, and still just going on and saying, by the way, this is what I'm doing. And to be honest, it's the only way that people can understand what you're doing, that you get a follower base, that you grow the business, because you can't build in silence. So that's such a good tip. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll come to Vicky, then I'll come back to your song. But let's hear Vicky's fear. Well, your giants, any of your financial giants that you'd like to share with us.
Oh my gosh, where to start? There's been so many threads that
Right.
from everybody, stories that are just resonating so hard. So this idea of choice, independence, expectation, definitions of success, like where we all think we should be. So I'm literally in a spin about where to start. But I think what has come through really strongly for me, and I'm heading towards 50. I'm 47 years old, so
You don't look a day over 18.
Not at all.
I said it to lead you into saying that. So thank you for reading the script there, Tina.
It's
I
true,
appreciate
though.
that
You do
very
look
much.
fabulous for your age.
I didn't expect ever to be at this age and be worrying about money and be worrying about the lifestyle that me and my husband have created for ourselves and our family, being able to afford it. And there's choices that I have made that have put me in this position, and I don't regret a single one of them, but they come with consequence, shall we say, certainly in terms of finances. So I chose to leave that world of corporate safety with big salaries, which it was, a very comfortable financial life, and never really worrying about, I didn't worry about the things that I worry about now in terms of, can I pay my mortgage this month? Can we afford to go on holiday this year? Can we afford to do some of the things that I took for granted 15 years ago? And we're not really in that position now. And I always used to say, I went to university and I educated myself and I took these jobs to be able to give me that lifestyle and afford to do that. So to have deliberately taken a choice to not do that kind of feels like a real contrast and a conflict with what I wanted to provide for me and my family. So something I have had to get over, and it's been a really big challenge for me. I left my last full-time permanent job in 2018. It was after I'd had the children. I've got 2 children, and it was at a time where I mentioned before that I was sort of thinking about the impact that gender diversity, we'll call it that, had had on me as a professional and my career. But it was also, after having my children, I was just so burnt out and I couldn't do the job I was doing. It was too difficult. So I felt like I was a statistic who left at mid-senior career to do something different and try to find a world that fit around the children. But that came with financial sacrifice. But I chose that. I didn't really know at that time what I was going to do next. I started a social enterprise, as I said, and did some consulting during that time as well to pay rent. But what started to emerge for me, and what I had to do during a time of healing, I will say, and rediscovering my identity, was come to terms with what success meant for me. And that success for me wasn't what it might be for other people. Certainly not for people who take that corporate career path. Now, wonderful people, really intelligent, impressive people that I thought I had to be, but you don't. So what I've had to learn is that, and I'm sure it will come through in some of my song choices later as well, because it's the reason I've chosen them, is wealth for me is about having my mental well-being, having a career and applying my skills and talent, whatever they may be, in a purpose-led way, in a way that's meaningful, in a way that doesn't need me to be building a career or building a company or building anything that doesn't align with my value base and doesn't feel as though it's giving something back. I was in a position where I didn't feel I was a good role model for my children, and I wasn't there for them either. They were really young at that time, but I was having panic attacks about not being able to pick them up from nursery, about leaving them even in nursery, about not seeing them enough, about the stress that was bringing and not being present. I wasn't present when I was with them as a parent. I wasn't present when I was at work because I was thinking about being a parent and the rubbish job I was doing. So I wasn't doing well anywhere. And I never ever want to go back to that. So wealth for me includes not being in that position. And what I now, and it's taken a long time, we're 2025 now, this was in 2018, so 7 years, and I'm still not there yet. Now it's about understanding what that financial side of wealth means for me. And it does mean for me knowing what I want to earn and need to earn to maintain my lifestyle, and actually just being able to sleep comfortably at night, not stressing about paying the mortgage the next month. And I do feel I've earned that. But I think that's been my biggest challenge to get over, is to almost be okay with that, recognise it as my choice, recognise it as an independence thing as well, because whilst I have a incredibly supportive husband, it puts so much pressure on him if the financial burden falls totally on him.
Of course.
So, and I have always contributed 50% in all of our finances. I really hear you about, Karen, not feeling comfortable when suddenly you have to rely on somebody else. And I've had to do that. Family members, my husband, have helped me financially over the last few years when I've had points that I wasn't able to bring that in. But I've always kept the faith that I can. I know I'm clever. I know I'm strong. I know I'm resilient. And I know I've made these choices myself. And I feel that there's something in that, is the empowerment of having those choices and understanding what you then do to live comfortably with that choice. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you can get there. So I'm at a point at the moment where I've been a founder for 2.5 years. The company wasn't successful. The choice I took after that, when we folded it, which was the right choice, was to do some consultancy, because it's good money. But I'm not yet ready to dive back into understanding what my permanent future is. But I'll get there, I know I will. And I know that I'll find that. Doesn't necessarily feel stress-free, but that's okay. I've been here before, I've got through it, I'll do it again. And so that's right.
Do you know what, just kind of listening to you there, Vicky, I think everything that I'm hearing from the speakers is just, it comes back to confidence. Just, believing in yourself that, right, this might be a blip right now, but that's okay, because I know how to get out of it. I'm sort of in a similar position where, when you hear the word startup, the next question is, are you raising? Which is, are you looking for money? And I'm thinking, right, well, every company, it doesn't matter if you're a startup, but every company is looking for money. But there's this kind of connotation where you have to be, going to investors' doors, chapping on their doors, taking them out for lunch and all the rest of it. And I'm thinking, right now, maybe in the future, but right now, that's just not a world that I know enough about and that I'm confident to partake in. And actually, I'm at a scrappy stage where the minimal amount of spend that I can do to get the maximum output, that's what I'll do right now. And that's where all the money that I'm making, I'm reinvesting back in the company, which is where I'm then letting my husband go, right, okay, I'll pick up the reins at home for a bit. And I'm confident that that's not going to be forever. And it's just like you're saying, you know that the choices you've made are legit, they're sensible, they have a purpose, and it's short term.
They're considered choices as well. And I've got a risk management background, right? They're risk decisions. I take them knowing the risks that they've come with. And I understand the consequences of those risks too, and some of them have come true. But one thing about the relying on your husband for money, the first time I didn't actually have to do it. The first time I had to do it a couple of years ago, I reminded myself that when I had our 2 children, I still throughout that entire time paid 50% towards our finances, despite the fact that I wasn't working, despite the fact that I'd gone down to 4 days a week to care for our children. And he didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to think about any of that impact on his income that then still had to support it. So I almost feel like he owed me. And it's the same, like the amount of unpaid caregiving that all of us do, and not just for children. You don't have to have children. The burden of unpaid care falls predominantly on women, not always, but it does predominantly.
Absolutely.
And so I do not feel now guilty at all about
Yeah.
accepting that support. I did at the time. It felt very
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, what does this say about me that I've had to do it? But I've paid him back, actually. I think we're quite strange in the way that we do this, and he'd probably kill me if he heard me say this too, but we've always contributed 50%, and if we ever don't, then we sort of try and put that back
Even
in.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I may not be quite there yet, but I will be. Ed, if you're listening, I promise I will.
How differently we're all built, though. I remember distinctly meeting a mum at the school gate and having a blather with her, and she asked me. Well, I was smartly dressed. She was in her gym gear, and she was like, "Oh, are you working?" And I explained a wee bit about what I was doing, and so you still work? Oh, you obviously haven't worked on your husband hard enough. And I thought,
Excellent.
I really don't want to be in that world. I don't want to be. I enjoy my work. I love my work. I want to have that independence. I don't want to have to rely on somebody. Thanks. Anyway, I'm away to work. Bye.
Yeah.
I've got a son and a daughter, and that was part of the role modelling for them, that I wanted to see a mother who I wanted them to see me working because I wanted to. I wanted to work. Like, stay-at-home parents make the choice to stay at home, and fabulous for them if that's what's right for them. I wouldn't have wanted that for me. Like, I would have gone crazy.
Indeed.
Absolutely stir crazy. I like my job. I like working. So that was my choice, and I wanted them to see me take that choice and not be pushed into doing something that I didn't want to do. Not that it was an option for us anyway, but I wouldn't have wanted to do that. So
It's very interesting what we're talking about, because again, it's the societal pressure of what you're supposed to be doing. I've only very recently come to terms with the fact that I'm not domesticated, and I really am not.
I'm more than happy with that fact about myself.
It took me a long while, because everyone around you, as you're saying, is not working to look after the children, and they're taking a career break, or they're just being supported, and I'm like, I don't want to be cooking. I'm barely able to look after the kids. Like, I don't know how they've turned out all right. And I just want to be doing business and doing things. And then I was just, there's a guilt you feel for not being feminine enough. And I don't wear makeup half the time anyway. I'm just learning to do that as I get older. But I just wasn't that typical female. And it worried me a lot. And then when I went through the period when we were going through this poverty bit, I decided that I wanted to be wealthy. And then that scared me. I was like, that's probably not okay. Is it okay to want to be rich? It certainly doesn't seem like. Sometimes you feel like it's a bad thing to voice that you want to be financially well off. And it seems to be everyone is trying to get a pity party together for not being able to afford stuff. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to afford stuff. I do want to go on 4 holidays a year, thank you very much. But no one else is talking about it, or are not in a position to do it, so you don't know how to respond, right? And so there's a lot of pressure on us as women to just be these things, right? But I'll come to Karen for your song choice, and then we'll take a bit of a break.
Okay, gosh, I can't actually remember which one's first. I think it may be
whichever one you want.
Do you know what? I suppose then after this chat, Megan Trainor's I Want to Thank Me
I
is probably
thought
the
so.
best one.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go
I
for
agree.
that.
A very good song choice, and we don't thank ourselves enough.
Not at all.
I liked what Vicky said about thinking about when you needed to take the support. You have done your part, and even if you had not, I feel like we should be okay to have a right to support.
Yeah,
because we give it.
Yeah.
We give it when we need to, and we don't lean into it enough. But I don't know. I've never considered it that way. I'll tell you what's for sure. That I found very strange about this society. Growing up in Uganda, like a girl, I was just used to being pampered, and I'm probably coming from a very, 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 very myopic and old-fashioned thing. But like a guy taking me on a date and expecting me to pay was the biggest turn-off that would ever happen to me. So I come from the opposite place where I'm like, I'm supposed to be looked after. I'm meant to be a princess. To suddenly, no, we need to both be chipping away. It's different over here. We both need to work. We both need to put fuel in the car. I had never fueled a car before. That was a guy's thing. Like, I'm not going to go on, fuel.
Interesting.
Like, it was just learning all these things, which is fine. And I actually believe I'm better suited to this type of thing. But for a long while, I was very offended that I'm expected to pay half the bill. That was just like, what? You're supposed to be picking that up. So it's very strange, isn't it? We're all from such different...
Yeah. And you've mentioned some about wealth, and I'm sorry because I really do want to get to Meghan Trainor as well.
No, not at all.
The wealth thing is a really interesting quandary, I guess, with how much money you should be allowed to want and how much is too much, and it's something I grapple with, and we shouldn't feel guilty about that. We shouldn't at all. And also on the point about accepting support, it's not just choices that we make, is it? It's circumstances and what life throws at us, and I have certainly got okay with accepting support, because why not? Why not? Like, we have to accept the rubbish things that happen to us, so why not be able to accept nice, helpful things as well?
And it's a shame that panic around the support always falls back to money.
Yeah.
We never question, the care
Emotional
element that we put in, or emotional or mental or any other strengths. Yeah.
I don't know though, because leaning into Lisa's independence thing though, I would rather be the one that's giving support.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that sticks in my mind, what I was when I started my business, I had just got married at that point, and normally contribute, it was a 50-50 basis, but when I started my business, I had come from a corporate background to being self-employed, and the one thing that I was giving up was a company car. And I didn't have sufficient to start the business and do that, so my husband bought me a car. I was going to say a company car. Yeah. Maybe he saw it that way. So he gave me the money to buy a car. 3 years later, I put the equivalent amount into the mortgage. So as far as I was concerned, that was we were back on an even keel. But it was brought up when we were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
We can put a hold on the song.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
That's a whole big rabbit warren we better not go down.
We need another 2 hours.
Yeah, very, very interesting, because again, that's the whole dynamic that you don't know what you're supposed to be accepting, and
well, that really hurt me to the core, because I had been in a position where I'd had to accept that help.
Yes.
And as far as I was concerned, we were married. That's what you do.
Yes.
But
yeah.
There were lots of things about that contract
when it's
that didn't quite work
weaponised and
out.
used as a power play.
Yes.
It's definitely a rabbit warren.
Yes.
We'll talk about next time you invite us.
Yes. I think that's one thing that spurred me to get a mortgage, having to have a conversation with our landlord and him having to sacrifice what a person that I could see and I liked very much and had been good to us, and feeling like I was taking income off him because he was now letting us pay just the amount of just to pay the mortgage. I felt so terrible, so bad, and I was like, I'm feeding into the stereotype of this. I just felt so terrible, and I thought I would rather have a conversation with a bank who I don't know or see, a faceless person, than have to put another person that I can relate to out. And I just hated that. I would rather deal with a corporate organization to be dealing with a mortgage or a repossession than a landlord who also has a family to feed. And I just, that support was so uncomfortable. And he was a lovely man who had been warned against giving us the property. The estate agent had told him not to give us the property, and here we were playing out back to the risk assessment. He had taken a risk on us, and we just fell through. We were just and I felt so terrible to have let him down. So, and I think in the back of my mind, that's why I've not taken venture capital. I've not considered it, not yet at all. But it's that thought of, I do not want to be answering to someone else before even I know. where I'm heading with this. So, Megan Trainor.
Let's thank ourselves.
Yes.
And you know who I want to thank? I want to thank me for believing in me and doing what they said I could not do.
I make me feel some type of way. I give myself a double take. I'ma act like the whole damn world's my stage. Keep living, keep living. And ain't no man will ever stop her. She never reads the teleprompter. I'ma say what I've always wanted to say. Yeah, I gotta say, I wanna thank me for looking like this, for working my ass off, can't do it like me, I wish. I wanna thank me, kiss myself. I wanna thank me right now and nobody else. I said I'm talking about that one-on-one, doing what they say can't be done. I ain't hating on myself no more, that's done. Hey. And so I like to take a second to remind me I'm sexy, that I'll be my own bestie when the world tries to test me. Yes, there's so many I'd like to thank along the way, but I gotta say, I wanna thank me, hey, for looking like this, for working my ass off, can't do it like me, I wish. I wanna thank me, kiss myself. I wanna thank me right now and nobody else. No, nobody else. I wanna thank me for looking like this, for working my ass off, you can't do it like me, I wish. I wanna thank me and kiss myself. I wanna thank me right now and nobody else. And so I like to take a second to remind me I'm sexy, that I'll be my own bestie when no one tries to test me. Yeah, I gotta say, I wanna thank me for looking like this, for working my ass off, can't do it like me, I wish. I wanna thank me, kiss myself. I wanna thank me right now and nobody else.
I want to thank me.
Welcome back, everyone. That's been wonderful. Oh my gosh, we're just saying that the conversation has been really, really deep. We've been sharing. We hope that people find this helpful. And again, it's back to that whole concept around financial giants, right? It's sometimes you need to unpack some of this stuff to find yourself and come to your place of where you should be. I want us to now talk a bit around transformational breakthrough, like how you snap out of it, so to speak, or how you overcome some of this stuff. We've talked a lot about all these stereotypes or where we are at as women and the experiences we come across, right? But one thing for me has been when you're down in depression and there's so many no's, there's a no every day, you're not breaking through with the business, you're winding up and you're closing it, you're going through the stuff you've been going through. How do you come out? How do you come out on the other end, right? And for me, I share a very interesting story in the book, right, which was my turning point. And it's very interesting. You talked about being nimble with money. I had never had to budget at all. Budgeting to me was deciding I wanted to go somewhere, I wanted to do something, being given a set of tasks or challenges that needed to be completed to achieve that thing. So for example, when I was going to uni, I was very desperate to come to the UK. I wanted to come on holiday, and my parents were like, well, if you get all A's, you get to go to the UK on holiday. And so my only thing was get all A's, you go on holiday. I wanted a car, the same thing. You do XYZ, you get the car. And it always worked. It had always worked. So I didn't understand financial vulnerability as a function of anything out with your control. My thing was, you can work your way out of that. There should be a target that you need to meet. Why do you not have a target of how much money it's going to cost you to go on holiday, right? That was my thinking. And fast forward, we're here. We've squandered all our money, as I've told you. First of all, the houses are so small. We're used to having a big place, so that already we should never have been renting where we were renting when we came, because our money would never have stretched that long. But of course, we were expats. I was a lawyer, he was an accountant. We're always going to have work. What was not to love, right? And of course, his job goes. I'm on maternity leave, and it's just we have a very, very high expense rate. And I go into a supermarket, and I'm checking out groceries. Our grocery bill was eye-watering, and the card declines.
Oh no.
And I'm at checkout. There's a queue behind me. And I take out a few things, and the card declines again. I didn't even know what a card declining meant.
Wow.
So I spend a few minutes with the woman saying, "What do you mean that the card's declined?" And she's like, "The card's not working." It must mean there's no money on the card. I had no app. I just had no concept. Most embarrassing moment in my life, right? And I walked out of that supermarket with literally nappies and bread, and like a queue's forming. It's just the most embarrassing thing I'd ever had to go through. And that's when I was like, absolutely heck no. No way am I going to be the person that's like, I just got so angry with my situation. And that was, I think, the turning point for me, because I then sat down and thought, right, how have we come to this point? We're overspending for sure. Where it was a slap in the face that I really needed. Like, I had to get to that point, right? Now I thank God for it. I'm so glad that that happened, because I kid you not, I was just in Kukuland. I was in a stupid fairy tale that was never going to end. I was going to come crashing down. My marriage everything was just going to fall apart. I just had to get to that checkout moment and just be like, Tynah, you are in a different economy. You're living a different life. You are going to have to adjust.
Yeah.
What have you ladies found? Who wants to go first?
Well, do you know what? I wonder, I was just saying to the ladies during the break, I think that certainly what's kind of kept me afloat through, whether it's the embarrassment of asking someone for help, or it's building or opening the startup and not having customers from day one, or whatever it was, I think it's throughout most of my life, confidence has kind of pulled me through. And it's not confidence in terms of, I can do anything and nothing can stop me or whatever, but it's more just kind of, having that self-belief that, okay, you've made that decision for that reason, and you're going to move on to the next thing. And I think when you surround yourself with people that can sort of build you up, and I think you were saying at the beginning, Tynah, you actually had to speak to yourself and say positive things, because if you didn't, then you were just going to go into a deep depression being a new mother. And I kind of think to myself, I used to believe that money was the most daunting, overwhelming, confusing topic out there, and to an extent it still is. But now I think, well, actually, you don't need to be an absolute brain box to run a business, as long as you have XYZ, and as long as you can. I think Vicky was saying before, I think if you just have a bit of know-how before, in terms of, right, I'm going to make this decision, what are the consequences, what's the risk, what's the whole picture like. And this is again going back to the whole VC thing. Right now I have another opportunity to raise funds, a small amount, but raise funds enough to test my concept, and enough to get me to maternity feeling comfortable, that I can then go, right, I can now have this baby safely, comfortably, things are in place, and that I'm not forced to have to go down the VC route. And I think it's just kind of having that confidence to know that you have options, as long as you're willing to throw yourself into things, as long as you're willing to work hard, learn. I think just confidence can really bring you through so many things. And I have friends that they have fantastic jobs, but they're so undersold in their companies, but not their companies, the ones that they're part of. And one friend in particular, and I say to her, you know, look, you're responsible for winning that contract. You told me that it was your work, it was your connections, it was your job. You brought in 100k to that business. When you sit in that room with your boss, you ask for a pay increase, because had it not been for you, they'd be 100k down. And the panic sets in because it's asking for money. And she doesn't believe that she's perhaps worth that extra pay rise. And then of course when they give her a bare minimal pay rise, she takes it, you know. And I think, no, you know, if I could just give you one thing in the world, it would be confidence. And I think, yeah, women could absolutely soar if we just all had a bit more confidence.
I feel a real urge to put a very practical lens onto this, because it's something that I've had to learn over the last 8 years, and that I've realised time goes on anyway, right? The bills are still going to come. So what I've had to do is know, it is linked to confidence, but I've had to know also, I can't just sit there panicking because it's going to happen. So I can do that, of course I can actually. I can sit there and panic for the next month or 3 months or 6 months, and it's still going to happen anyway. Or I can know now, today, that there's actions I can take to try and resolve it. For me, it has meant I talk to somebody in my network who might be able to help me find a job. I do my CV. I refresh my skills or understanding of where the market is right now. And I feel like I'm talking in very corporate-y type of language, but in terms of knowing what jobs are out there in the field that I want to work in, and knowing what's important right now. So things like in financial services, artificial intelligence is really important. I'm not great at that, but I know I need to know enough about it to be able to talk about it when I want to go for those financial services jobs, because you have to these days. So if you can get out of the state of panic, and which is really difficult to do and easier done than said, but something that will help is take an action. Just try and get some clarity about what you want to do, what it is you need. So if you're in a situation where you need money, maybe you do need to take a job as a chauffeur for a little while to get you through this hump, but to take away some of the panic, so you know you can do that. It's a quicker and easier route to money, quicker money, and then you can start to make choices. Is there a course that you want to do that will help upskill you to be able to put yourself back out there? Even if it's not a quick route to a job, when you're going for those conversations, it gives you something to talk about, and it shows that you're doing action, taking action, which is way more compelling and way more helpful for your confidence than succumbing to it. I've really had to learn that over the last 8 years, because I have had a lot of sleepless nights, and I've had a lot of moments of absolute fear and panic. But letting that drive you is not going to help. Getting clarity about what you want to achieve and coming up with an action plan of how to get there is way more likely to set you on the right path. And that's turning, I think, that confidence into a practical application of how you then have to put that into action.
Oh, I mean, all I'm hearing is that you're going, right, I have to fix this. I have to find a way. And I might not know the answer right now, but if I talk to that person, or if I go down that route, or I do this. So again, it's you taking control, you taking the reins.
Yeah,
Totally.
And in personal circumstances, it's the making baby steps in the right direction as well that can have a massive impact. So sort of making saving a priority, whereas in your teenage early years it's not necessarily, it's that you prioritise the going out and the new shoes and the whatever else. Everything takes priority rather than, but I do financial education in schools. I've tried to drum this into my daughter as well, just making that baby step in the right direction, making the initial, just setting aside initially. Everything else you've got is yours to do as you please with, and once the bills are paid eventually, but the saving, making that the priority. And I think, just going back to what you said, the turning point for me was those sleepless nights. For me it was the credit card debt and wondering, like I was robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Been there.
Yeah, and sort of juggling the 0% finance rates and literally wondering. I used to buy. You're talking about your supermarket bill being eye-watering. I would go to the supermarket and buy a chicken, and that chicken would last me all week. I could do wonders with that chicken, and I still can. They laugh at me at home now because I'll make it last all week. I'll make a curry, I'll make soup, I'll do anything with it. And it all stems back to just being at rock bottom, having nothing, but just making those wee baby steps.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. We used to have an eye-watering bill, and I kid you not, I mean eye-watering. And I think the thing for me, the other guilt I had was that I was the one that was doing these things, because my husband's a very practical person. He's an accountant through and through, very rational, not that bothered about, you know, the latest trainers or whatever, which I really am. I want the nice holiday. I want to go first class. I'm just this silly girl, right? And I'm the one that's racked up all this because he was happy in a studio, which whatever he you know, I'm feeling guilty for that side of things. He's telling us we need to cut back on the bills. I'm saying that's not possible. And after that incident in the supermarket, would you believe it? Our bill went from about £150. This is about, we're talking 16 years ago, and there was 2 of us, and we used to spend £150. I used to buy 4-ply toilet paper. I used to, oh my god, I just don't know what I used to spend on. I really don't. I really do not know. But I think that's one thing I wanted to share about what you're talking about, the practicalities. You need to get fed up yourself.
Yeah.
No one can do it for you.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
my husband had tried. The guy had tried, bless him. You'd say, let's sit down, let's look at, why are we spending £150? I'd say, you want me to start budgeting? We're going to start talking budgets, you know, and I would have this massive argument. And I didn't know what I was spending on. Silly stuff. I would buy the designer brands. If it was on telly, that's what I needed to buy. And when that moment happened, I went to that list, and I kid you not, for the longest time, our grocery bill went from £150 to £35 with a baby.
Yeah. That's
So
great.
it's crazy.
You're absolutely right. I see, and I can think of one couple in particular. I see it all the time where people will come to me with an issue, a concern, but it's either the male or the female of the relationship that has the issue or the concern. And if the other one's not bought into that, nothing's going to. It's rare that it changes.
Yeah.
So the couple that I'm thinking of, they haven't made enough retirement provision, and they are in their 50s, and it's looming. And I said, so he is more than prepared to do something about it, but it's going to involve an adjustment to their lifestyle. And she's just not prepared to deal with that, and not prepared to face it. So they keep postponing the meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to recognise it for yourself. It's a bit like the relationship thing. Until you recognise yourself, or the alcoholic, until you admit to yourself there's a problem, it's not going to change.
I mean, our bill went from £150 a week, 2 of us, to £35 a week with a baby, and we got on the property ladder within 18 months.
Okay.
Because I've never been happier to have bread and toast for dinner.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll do anything to get out of Graham's house. I just needed to get on the property ladder. And there's a drive, there's something about you deciding I am changing the path here. I am not going to be that person. And beans and toast was amazing. That's when I understood all the marketing tricks. I started looking at bottom shelves, smart pricing, everything, and enjoyed it actually, because I was now working towards the goal that I was very sold on, you know. But I think it all ties back to the confidence thing, knowing that you are able to do it. No one is going to succeed on your behalf, and just getting on with it. I want to touch on something else, and maybe we can talk about this, especially I want to listen about money insights, because do you find it's the same with business? We've been part of the same accelerator, And the things that I was prioritizing in my business, having gone through the situations that I'd been through, people were spending money on stuff that I was like, no. And so I've been able, without funding, to take my business from strength to strength just by being frugal, just by cutting out the fluff. And a few years ago, I had racked up, because back to the thing, you're trying to raise funding. The funding has some requirements. You start bringing on staff members. My payroll was through the roof. And I found myself going back to the place of worry, because I'm like, am I going to make payroll? Have we put in enough sales? And then you stop worrying about the important thing. I had to come to this point where I was like, right, I have to get to activities that are profitable.
Yeah.
It has to be profitable. I have to start saying no. Otherwise, I recognize the situation. I was going back to my financial giants, where I've been here before, where I'm not sleeping because we don't know if we're going to make rent. That's not going to be me in the business. And I just had to have that reality check and be like, no, it's got to be profit driven. And I started turning down contracts. I turned down a really big client because it wasn't washing its face, and they think they're doing you a favor. You're spending so much time working on this one job, and you're only making 1% to 2%. It's not going to even pay the salaries, you know. And I found that business finance and personal finance, if you manage to conquer one, can actually translate. I don't know if that's your experience, but I want to hear a bit about money insights as well.
Do you know that the thing I'm kind of picking up is, have you ever heard of that comparison is the thief of joy?
Yes.
So
yes,
you always kind of look at other people and what they're doing, and you think, oh, I should be at that level.
Yes.
Or, oh, maybe the way I'm doing it is wrong, or whatever. And, you know, in both personal and business, you know, I'm doing things my way now, and they are very scrappy. And, you know, I remember when I first launched Money Insights back in December 24, you know, I had this vision that it was going to be all singing, all dancing, beautiful. It was going to be ready to go, all shiny. And then I learned the whole fail fast model on the amount of screw ups and the amount of things you've done wrong at the beginning, and the amount of things that you're still doing wrong, or it's going to take time to tweak. And I'm, you know, I'm now at this stage where I'm like, right, what is important to me right now? What's important is keeping things as streamlined as possible financially, getting the message out to the right people, and securing what I need to secure over the next 5 months so that I can be comfortable to then, you know, go off. And it's the same in my personal life. You know, I've got friends that are perhaps buying big 4-bedroom detached houses, or, you know, they're off on another holiday to Dubai, and I'm thinking, gosh, you know, I used to think I would, you know, I needed that 2 years ago when Mario and I were looking for a house. You know, I had to have 3 bedrooms, detached, back garden. You know, I had this big playlist of what I wanted. And Mario was very sensible with money, and he was very much, and he's very good with his hands, DIY, you know, does a lot of construction. And we're looking at these houses, and he's just going, absolutely not worth it. No, it's completely, we'll put 10k over, and that's our max. Now I'm just thinking, oh, but please, we've got the money there, you know, and such have they've just bought a house, and so have them, and, you know, just letting my female intuition take over. And thank God we didn't buy it, because now fast forward 2 years and I'm building something, and my financial income is nowhere near what it used to be. And we have this beautiful little apartment in the New Gorbals, and we've just converted it into a 2-bedroom, and he's very well connected in the construction space, and he's, like I said, he helped do it up, so we done it on such a great budget. And I love our wee home, and I just think to myself, God, I'm quite happy here. Like, this is great. This is a beautiful place to bring up a baby. We'll be here for another few years. We've just renewed our mortgage, and we were one of those like 6.5% a couple of years ago, so we are now way down, which is lovely. And it's just, you know, I just remind myself to just don't give a crap about what anyone else is doing. Just do your thing. Journey. Do what works for you guys, for both personal and business. And that's why now I'm like, I do read all of these, you know, notices. I mean, my members of Money Insights, you know, they're entrepreneurs, they're companies that are kicking butt, and they're raising funds and all the rest of it. And I do sort of think, you know, kudos to you, well done. But if an investor came to me tomorrow and said, right, Karen, I'll give you £1 million, I wouldn't know what the heck to do with £1 million right now, because I haven't planned for it. I haven't pipelined it yet, you know, and I'm doing things my own way, in my own wee phases, and that's working for me just now. So yeah, I think comparison is something that we fall short on a lot in both business and personal. I think we just need to have a talk with ourselves sometimes to go snap out of that.
Lisa, what's your journey been with the business? What's your top lessons on life, really, I guess? Because again, back to Karen's point around, well, one thing I find is that we're all entrepreneurial because we're all running our own. We've all done something business-wise. I don't know whether people are wired differently when you don't like run business, but I find that it's so interlinked. Everything feeds into the other. If you're not happy at work, if I'm trying to close a deal at work, I'm not showing up in the house, and it's just so interlinked. And that's why I think for me, I was just like, I don't want to get back to a place where I'm now worrying about the business finances when I've just managed to sort out the personal ones and, that sort of thing. But any tips from you? Any thoughts on,
In building my business, I think I've been very lucky, I have to say. The business is in a really good place, and initially, I guess, well, sometimes I think I wish I'd done it 10 years earlier. I wish I'd had the confidence to do it 10 years earlier. But if I had done that, I wouldn't have had the experience and the experience of working for large corporates, the smaller organisations, and bringing those learnings into setting up my business. Yes, it was daunting setting it up initially, and yes, you're worrying where's my next client coming from? Is anybody going to want to work with me, having worked for a big corporate organisation before? I got clients that way, but they were sort of I felt they were buying into the corporate rather than buying into me. But as it transpired, as the confidence built and the business snowballed. So I have been very lucky, and the business has, I was going to say taken care of itself, but it's not. I've built it.
It's important to recognize that as well, isn't it? Because we, as women, we are used to just detaching ourselves from it when it's successful, and then taking the fall for when it's not successful.
Oh, absolutely. Women in particular, I'm my own biggest critic, and if you can have a million things will go right in your day, but if you have the tiniest wee thing goes wrong, that just goes round and round and round forever, or for a long time. So being a harsh critic, being self-critical is definitely a failing, but it's been a really rewarding journey.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Vicky?
So if I sort of take it back a little too, because we started this by talking about turning points, right? And I think a really big turning point for me over the last 7 years in particular has been about just understanding and recognising that I'm not special, right? I work hard. I tried my best to be a good person. I love my children. I contribute. I want to be purpose-led, and I want to give back to society. There's all of these things that make me unique and me, and a powerful, independent woman doesn't stop things happening that are rubbish or bad, or consequences coming in that I wasn't ready for, or that I'd misjudged something, or got it maybe not thought through things, or almost I've gone into things sometimes, which I will say this as a risk person, with deliberate denial, because if I actually thought too much about the risk, sometimes I wouldn't do stuff. And so I go in with my eyes wide open, but with I know what the worst case scenario can be, but I'm going to make the assumption that's not going to happen, because if it does happen, that's really scary. And so maybe for me to be able to step into this and do this, I'll just pretend that that's not going to be the outcome. Now, sometimes that has led to it being the outcome, and then I've had to readjust and change and everything. But so I think what I'm trying to say with all of that is, by saying I'm not special, there's so many times where I think I thought this couldn't happen to me because I'm educated, I'm very lucky in the support network I have and the circumstances I'm in, and because of that idea that I've done all this myself and I'm good at what I do, I won't get into this position where I'm worried about money. Well, you know what? Here I am. And so what? It genuinely can happen to anybody. As you're talking about, coming from your position of suddenly being in this place where, oh my gosh, these things that I thought mattered to me still matter to me, but actually I can't afford them now. So I'm having to totally readjust my beliefs about what does matter to me, and what I aspire to. And sometimes having the stuffing knocked out of you with those humbling experiences that take away a little bit of that sense of entitlement, which I hold my hands up and I have had, can be the most rewarding intervention that can happen in your life. Because what you then learn is sometimes money isn't the thing that brings you happiness, and sometimes actually you can do without, and you get something way better in return for that. You get fulfillment, you get stimulated by the achievement of something that matters to you. You get to give something back, you get to learn something, and ultimately I believe you become more fulfilled as a result. And I've certainly found that. Like, I do not regret a single moment of my journey over the last 7 years. It's been phenomenal. I've learned so much, I've rediscovered myself. I might be a little bit less rich than I was financially from before, but so what? Honestly, I'm going to be okay, and every day's a trip. If you come to me next week and I'm in a state of panic, then you can all help me get back out of that again with some of this discussion. But honestly, that's where I am right now.
You mean to say that you're only human?
No, well, I don't know about that.
Do you know what though? Like, I'm picking up from yourself, going back to the confidence side of things in both life and, well, business and personal. It's that tenacity. It's genuinely just going, right, you're going to have to pick yourself up and move on because no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
And right, if that didn't work out, okay, it really does suck, but we have to move on. In fact, one of the things with me building in public, I recently applied to Innovate UK for a £50,000 grant, and honest to God, the grant was written for me, right? It had Karen's name all over it with Money Insights, and it was pretty much, if you are doing something very manual right now, but you're trying to embed AI into it, then there was 50k for a new startup. And I actually got one of my grant writing partners to do the application for me on a no-win, no-fee basis, which was very generous of them. So the application was hot, right? I thought it was incredible. Lo and behold, we never got it. Now, with these funding applications, they pretty much want you to give up the blood of your firstborn, right? They are intense. And the more and more that you write, the more that you then truly believe, well, I have to get this money, because why would they not give it to me? This application, if I was an assessor, I'm going to look at that and just go, big tick. And so you plan how you're spending it, and you then pipeline how you're going to work, and then I don't want to say you take your foot off the brake, but you almost just convince yourself that there's no way that you're not getting that or you're not winning it. So going back to I'm not going to believe that the worst thing could happen. And then when the worst thing does happen, it does give you a blow to the stomach. Totally. And you do have to then go, oh crap, now we're going to have to figure out another way. And so this is, again, I put it up on LinkedIn because I was just kind of saying to other founders that, look, grants is a phenomenal way to raise money, but it's not the only way. Yeah. And actually, here's the other ways that I've done it for Money Insights, and guaranteed I'll find another way out with this 50k grant. And it's, that kind of then reassures to me, excuse me, that again, what I'm trying to build, right, Karen, it's okay. Okay, you didn't win that one, but there'll be 101 other things that you can go for. And that's the life of a founder and an entrepreneur and a startup and a business owner. You just need to keep on going.
Yeah. The first time you get that sucker punch as well is the worst, because the next time you get that sucker punch, you know you survived the last time you got it. So you know that you came out stronger and you learned something and you were able to turn it into something positive.
Yep.
And then when you get to your 100th sucker point, you don't even care anymore.
Vicky, your song choice and why?
Let's go with Jessie J and Price Tag, because that to me summarises what I've spoken about it not just being about the financial wealth, about all the wealth that we create and everything that we're giving back. And she's just pretty cool and upbeat, so I really like this song.
Thank you.
Okay, Coconut Man, Moonheads, and P. You ready? Seems like everybody's got a price. I wonder how they sleep at night. When the sale comes first and the truth comes second, just stop for a minute and smile. Why is everybody so serious? Acting so damn mysterious. Got shades on your eyes and your heels so high that you can't even have a good time. Everybody look to their left, everybody look to their right. Can you feel that? Yeah, we're paying with love tonight. It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Ain't about the cha-ching, cha-ching. Ain't about the ba-bling, ba-bling. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Okay, we need to take it back in time when music made us all unite, and it wasn't low blows and video hoes. Am I the only one getting tired? Why is everybody so obsessed? Money can't buy us happiness. Can we all slow down and enjoy right now? Guarantee we'll be feeling alright. Everybody look to the left, everybody look to their right. Can you feel that? Yeah, we're paying with love tonight. It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Ain't about the cha-ching, cha-ching. Ain't about the ba-bling, ba-bling. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag.
Well, keep the price tag and take the cash back. Just give me 6 strings and a half stack, and you can keep the cars, leave me the garage. And that's all I need, the keys and guitars. And it's within 30 seconds I'm leaving to Mars. Yeah, we leaving across these undefeatable odds. It's like this, man, you can't put a price on a life. We do this for the love, so we fight and sacrifice every night. So we ain't gon' stumble and fall, never. Waiting to see us in the sign of defeat. So we gon' keep everyone moving their feet. So bring back the beat, and then everyone sings.
It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Ain't about the cha-ching, cha-ching. Ain't about the ba-bling, ba-bling. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Ain't about the cha-ching, cha-ching. Ain't about the ba-bling, ba-bling. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Forget about the price tag.
Thanks, Tynah. So really just a shout out to any young entrepreneurs out there, founders, anyone that's starting a business or is looking to scale a business. Money is overwhelming, and that's why I've designed Money Insights. So really, if you want to be part of a community that helps you find money, save money, understand how it works in business, then please join moneyinsights.uk and follow our progress on our journey with building Mimi, our AI-powered money matchmaker.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I can't believe it's coming to an end already. So I'm going to ask each of us to share our top tips and takeaways and give ourselves a shout out as well, what we do, how people can reach out to us if they want to. And I'll come to you, Vicky.
Okay. So I think that my top tips would be to know yourself, know what your needs are, know what your lower limits are in terms of money, know what you need to survive, know what you're aspiring to get to, and then come up with a plan for that and be very deliberate with that plan, because the goals you want to achieve are achievable. And I think that's really important for everybody to know, is to keep that vision that they have for where they want to be in their minds. Know it's not necessarily going to be easy, know it might feel a million miles away from where you are today, but that belief, that confidence in yourself, if you have that, you can come up with this plan and you can deliver against it. There's always a way. And I think that that's just something that I've kept hold of that belief in myself. And I'm in a really great place. It's like, I'm happy. I'm happier than I was 20 years ago in terms of where I was in my career. So it's been great. So that would be my tip, is just to be deliberate, be careful, know your limits and plan for it. In terms of shout outs for myself, I am a coach. My social enterprise is valorsky.com. We do coaching for diversity through that, so if anybody wants to get in touch for coaching, then feel free. That's my diversity, inclusion and equality hat. My other hat in terms of financial services, I have a consultancy risk management, which is vdayconsulting.com. So if anybody wants to talk about risk management for any businesses that they're wanting to start up, then feel free to get in touch with me through that. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm hoping, Tina, through this, people will be able to see my name written down, because if I say it, no one will ever be able to spell it. But just look me up if LinkedIn is something that people use, or Vicky at VDay Consulting, VIDE consulting.co.uk. Feel free to drop me an email through that.
Thank you so much, Vicky. Lisa.
Top tip, I think, would be just to educate yourself in terms of finances. There's not nearly enough of it taught in schools, if at all. Get immersed in it, make yourself aware of tax breaks, pensions, and planning for your future. It's really important, and a lot of people that I come into contact with have taken years to approach me because they haven't felt financially worthy of taking advice. It should be the opposite. Everyone can benefit from financial advice. I offer a free initial consultation. It costs absolutely nothing to have a conversation and to explore whether there are wee tweaks that can be made to improve your overall circumstances, and generally there are. So my business is LMC Financial Planning, based in West George Street, and I'd be more than happy to chat to anybody who would like to improve their financial situation.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Karen?
So I suppose my top tip would really just be to immerse yourself in the world that you're hoping to become part of, if that is running your own business. So speak to universities, colleges, local accelerator hubs, banks, social media these days, you can find anything on TikTok, Instagram. So yeah, just really get immersed in these worlds, because they are the ones that will introduce you to the people you need to get to know. And of course, join Money Insights. We are obviously helping UK startups and SMEs with understanding financial literacy, helping them make smarter money moves as they grow. And we are building an AI-powered money matchmaker called Mimi. So you can follow the journey on that, but it's really just to make money as easy as possible as you grow your business. So that's moneyinsights.uk.
Thank you, everyone. My top tip is you can do it. If I could do it, anybody can. And you have to believe in yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. So you need to make that first move and do it. And you can, because when I started out, I had no clue what I was doing, but I just got fed up with the status quo, and I have managed to do it. And I'm telling you that it's night and day from the person I used to be and who I am now. And so I know for a fact that if you just take that first step, Lisa was talking about taking that baby step. If you take that baby step, you're going to do it. In terms of shout outs, I've written the new book, Conquer Your Financial Giants, which is part of the program we're having here. So I would love if you would come over to the book launch. We're doing 3 book launches. One in Glasgow at the iconic Mitchell Library on the 2nd of October at 6 p.m. So get your free ticket to that. Then we'll go to Manchester on the 7th of October. That's at 6 p.m. at the Manchester Central Library. Come along to that. And finally, we'll be back home to Edinburgh on the 9th of October, 5:30 p.m. at the National Library of Scotland. Come and join us for some tea, fees, cake, and book. And we look forward to seeing you. You have been wonderful guests. I am so happy to have you, ladies, and we will definitely be back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a
Thank you,
real
guys.
privilege. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tynah.